Hi, everyone. You're all very welcome to the fourth and final part of the AI Brunch Club series with Target Recruit. I'm here with Neil Curry. He's the sales director for the UK and EMEA in Target Recruit, and he has a wealth of information on AI, how we should be using it. So if you've missed the first three, they are on our website. You can go back and watch them back. Today's one is called Where to Get Started, and it should tie up everything that Neil's been telling us for the last few weeks. So, Neil, I'm going to hand it over to you, your capable hands, and leave you to it.
Great. Thank you, Anna. And good afternoon, everybody. If we have met before, it's good to have you on again. And if you're new, then yeah, as Anna said, the recordings are available. And if you want a copy of the slide deck from today and the previous sessions so you can refer to them, please do let me know. So yes, we're part 4 into the series. The previous 3 have all been around practical recommendations on different tools that you could use for the front office, your candidates, and for more of the middle and back office operations. And today is going to be about where to actually get started. So now you know what to use. Where do you actually start? Before we get into it, again, the offer from last week is still available. So if you do want to copy the slides or you want to get in touch for a chat around your existing technology and you want to get into AI, I'm more than happy to jump on a call and we can have a bit of a health check and understanding about where you are and what you want to achieve, and I can hopefully point you in the right direction with a few things. So please do get in touch with me either via email or on LinkedIn, and we can take the conversation from there. But without further ado, we're going to be looking at where to get started with AI. So I think what I was very conscious about for the last 3 episodes is to give real practical recommendations on what you can use for AI to help you to be more productive in running your recruitment business. I know that I prefaced it at the very beginning in episode 1 that in a lot of these AI talks that I've been present at, you know, you have the AI expert up on stage and there's a lot of great ground covered, but a lot of it is just very conceptual and it's all around strategy, and people walk away and they're scratching their head and think, well, what do we actually do to get started? So hopefully the first 3 series have been giving you some practical recommendations, and then today is all about, okay, so now we've got a good idea of what's out there and what's possible. How do we actually look to roll that out across the organization? Okay, so these are the topics that we're going to be covering. Without further ado, we'll get into it. Also, if you do have any questions throughout, pop them into the chat. There should be time at the very end to cover those off. So what's the priority with data, automation, and AI? Typically, when people are discussing AI, the conversation around data and automation nearly always comes up. From what I'm seeing in my role day to day is that there's some companies out there who are almost putting AI off because they need to look at their data, they want to put automation in place, and then AI kind of comes down on that priority list. And in some cases, that's absolutely right. Okay. But what I would say, I would caveat it with this, is that you can roll AI out without having automation in place and without looking at your existing data. So let me give you an example of that. Are there AI tools which can look for candidates out in the market? And are there AI tools which can look at intent triggers from businesses that you're hoping to work with? Yes. Are they reliant on internal data? No. So could you plow ahead and put those 2 examples in place across your organization before you look at data and automation? You absolutely can. Okay. So a number of AI tools look outward. They don't necessarily look inward. Okay. So if you're thinking that you need to do your data and automation first, if you're actually using a tool which isn't interrogating your internal information, then you can progress with that. Okay. The only thing to consider is if you're going to be using AI tools which are going to be looking inward, then you do need to make sure that what you've got in-house is going to be present and correct. So I'll give you another example on that. Let's imagine that you you get tenders and you bid for that work, and you want an AI tool which can actually write the tender on your behalf, but it needs to be looking at your own internal data sources to be able to do so. Do you need the right data in place before you do that? Absolutely, you do. If you're looking to use an AI tool which is going to select the top candidates for particular vacancies that you're trying to fill, then you absolutely need to have your data clean and accurate before you implement an AI tool to be able to do that. Okay. So it's not, all I'm wanting to emphasize is you don't always need to be stalling the rollout of AI if it's not going to be looking at your internal data. But if it is, then I would absolutely recommend that you look to cleanse your data, you make sure that it's accurate, you make sure that your duplicates are out of the way. And then if you want to put automation in place before rolling out AI out, you can, but a lot of AI tools actually have automation built into it. So in effect, you want to be doing your data first, then use AI with automation. Okay. So hopefully that's not too high level, but there are AI tools which we've discussed, which can go through your database and your different data sources and look to cleanse that. Okay. So you can get help with it. Is it a laborious task if you were to do it manually? It absolutely is. But are there tools which can help you? Yes, there are. Again, we've covered those in some previous sessions, but worth knowing. So that's just one thing to discuss and almost get out of the way. That data automation and AI are very, very tightly knit, but you can do one before the other. Just make sure you're doing the right one. So what's the process for actually looking at AI? And again, I've tried to keep this as simple as possible. Okay. And not make it too convoluted, because that just puts people off actually doing something around AI, which we know we can't ignore. So if I really had to boil it down and say, okay, what are the three main areas that you should be focusing on when you're considering technology? First off is look at your objectives and your goals. Ideally, you want to be doing that at a company level and understanding what needs to be achieved for the company, but you also need to take into account what you're trying to achieve for your team and also what you're trying to achieve as an individual. Okay, so look at yourself, look at your team, and then look at your company. Obviously, if you're wanting these AI initiatives to be successful and adopted across your organization and signed off, then you need to be looking at the company-wide objectives and goals. You then need to think, okay, so where are the existing challenges to making those objectives real? And then you say, okay, now we've identified where the challenges and the gaps are. Let's then search for the technology. Okay. So if you just wanted to keep this nice and simple, what are the goals of the company? What's stopping you from achieving it? And then what technology will help you achieve it? Saying that, there are two other factors that you may want to do to make this really watertight. So continue to look at your objectives and goals. Map out in as much detail as you possibly can the processes that you need or that you're following or would like to follow to achieve the objective. Then highlight what's stopping you from achieving that in the given time. Then search for the technology which can achieve or get rid of those challenges, prioritize it, and then look to adopt the software. Okay. So if you want to use the previous slide and just keep that high level, fine, but actually mapping out your processes and then prioritizing which area has the most importance to the business, because you might come up with a handful of areas which need to be addressed, but not all of them may be a priority. And then you look to roll out and do that in a comprehensive way, and hopefully we'll get to cover that in the next few slides. So these are the six main steps that I would look to follow. Okay, so let's delve into that in a little bit more detail now and bring it to life a bit. Okay, so let's imagine that finding new clients is one of your business objectives. Okay, there's a number of ways of doing that, and I'm not here to teach you to suck eggs, but there's a number of ways that we see clients are going out and trying to find new clients. They may be looking at key account triggers from their prospective accounts. So who's expanding new regions, who's winning new projects, who's taking on investment, and who's actually advertising for new jobs. Once we've got that information, we then want to put that into tailored communication. So we want to find what we've learned, through Google News, through people's websites, and then refer to that in some tailored comms. We might also then want to put some value add content out through our company page on LinkedIn, and then share it through to those prospective businesses that we're trying to do work with, so we can show that we really understand their market. Then you also might have a bank of really good candidates that you want to market over to those organizations and say, look, you've got these vacancies. Do you want to have a conversation with some of the candidates that we have on our books who are available to work? Okay, they're just 4 areas that you might be looking at to find new clients. Okay, but they take a lot of time and they take experience to do. So would you take a new starter today and get them to do any of those 4 tasks? Probably not. Okay. But what's actually stopping you from doing those in a comprehensive way? It could just be down to a lack of experience, and it can be down to a lack of time. Okay. So your business objective is finding new clients. You don't have the time to do it properly. You're doing it in fits and starts. And when you actually come to do it, you might just not have the right experience yourself or the person that you've tasked it to do. So what's the answer? Well, as we've looked at in previous episodes, there are specific AI tools and technology out there which can address those areas. Okay. But would you want to address all of them in one? I would argue not. Okay. You might say, okay, we've actually got some experience in-house in writing tailored comms. We're pretty good at it. Or we're quite au fait on ChatGPT. We know how to do some tailored comms. So we're good with that. That's not the number one priority. Building market research papers. No, that's marketing's bag. That's not for me to worry about. Okay. And then doing some reverse marketing of candidates to prospective businesses. You just might not want to do it. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. Okay. So you've already deprioritized those 3 on the right, but your key priority is the account triggers. And you're just finding that doing Google News and looking at LinkedIn, them pages for those businesses, or looking at their website, it's just not really that relevant. And also, by the time that you see that information, it's in the past. Okay, so that that's your biggest blocker in finding new clients. Then there are 3 tools there that we've discussed in previous slides, which can literally give you that intent data on a regular basis. As and when that appears within the platform, it'll fire through a notification to say, okay, company A is hiring, company A has taken on investment, company A has taken on a new C-suite exec. Okay, if you need to be notified about that, absolutely fine. If you then want to fire out tailored communication based on that and have all of that knitted together, you can do that. Okay, but if you just want to look at that key problem and address it, then you're able to do so. So this is just an example of one objective that you have as a business, the different work streams that you do to achieve it, the challenges that you've got, and then using software to address the priority of where the challenge sits. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, that there's a whole load of things that you can do around AI, but actually prioritizing what's important to you and your business is just as important as picking the right piece of tech. So let's have a look at how to select some tech, right? And when you're actually doing these considerations, you'll probably come up with three main considerations. Okay, the first one is, shall we actually just build it ourselves? Should we build something from scratch and just use it in-house? Okay, that's one option. The other one is, okay, well, let's think about an off-the-shelf product, okay, which there's many of. And then the third one is, let's look at something industry specific. Okay, there's pros and cons of each. If you're looking to actually build something yourself, you might actually have a competitive edge over the other guys in the industry, because nobody else might be doing that. Okay, you've got full ownership of that technology, and most importantly, the data itself. And hopefully, if you do it right, it's actually going to meet your specific needs. The only consideration with that is that it's usually resource heavy and costly to build, and it also needs resource heavy and costly maintenance. Okay, it's not to say that you can't do it, but my recommendation is not to necessarily try and build something from scratch, because more often than not, somebody's already done it. Okay, If we're looking at the off-the-shelf generic products tend to have more viability in the market. It's been proven. It's usually quite quick and easy to adopt, hence why there's a lot of people using it. And also when it comes to integration into your technology, there's sometimes proven integrations on that front. The only thing to consider is that it might not be specific enough for what you want to achieve. And because it's such a widely used product, will you actually have a say in the product roadmap and the enhancements to it? Potentially not. Okay, so that's one consideration. And then you've then got industry specific. Okay, so this could be really meeting a specific need. It's been built for the recruitment industry, so it's got recruitment in mind. And also the supplier has knowledge of recruitment, which is really important when it actually comes to conversations that you're having with them, not just in the rollout, but also the ongoing support. But it could be less proven because it's actually not as many people are using it because it's for a specific audience. And it could also be a little bit too specific. It could just be fixing one particular problem, but not an awful lot. So an example on this could be, let's imagine you want to brand candidate CVs. There are specific solutions which just do CV branding. Great, that'll tick all the boxes. Or if you go for an off-the-shelf version with something like Canva, that can do your CV, and it can also do another thing, an awful lot more. It can do your website, it can do PowerPoint presentations, it could do posts for LinkedIn or Instagram if you're promoting your business through there. But does that have the recruiter in mind? Probably not. So you've just got to weigh those three options up. It tends to be the bigger organizations which may look to do a custom build, but I would steer you away from that and then either use an off-the-shelf version with a bit more wider functionality or something industry specific. So they're just three things that you may be looking to consider when it comes to tech. And then when it comes to actually selecting the technology, if you've been involved in this for your own company's up to date, it doesn't have to be an AI software, it could have been anything. It could be your website, CRM, it could be finance, payroll, whatever it may be. You've probably, I'm probably going over old ground here, but high level, what you should be doing is just making sure that there's a functional fit with what you're trying to achieve and that challenge that you're looking to address. Also, does it have additional areas? I use Canva there as an example. Are there additional areas that the technology offers which you hadn't considered, which you could either use initially or further down the line? That's always an added benefit to think, okay, we've got a bit more of a longer term partnership here with this particular supplier. What does their support look like? Okay, and not just when you're rolling the software out, but also once you're live, because you're probably going to have some questions in both of those phases. And also, what does their roadmap look like? How future think? How much are they thinking into the future, and how much will they be developing the solution for their clients, including you? Integration option is a big one, and I probably don't have, this is a topic in itself, but making sure that the technology that you choose can be integrated into what you're already using. You do not want to be rolling technology out which just sits completely in silo. So if you're having to take information from one system into the other, it's starting to defeat the object of AI. So you really think about your integration options and will it work either right now with your existing tech, or does it have the capabilities to be able to integrate to existing tech? And then review the commercials. You want to be comparing your cost against budget. If you don't have a budget, then think about what your cost expectations are. A lot of these AI providers actually are very transparent with their costs and will show you how much it's going to be on a monthly or annual basis. Usually if you sign up annually, you get it a bit cheaper, but they're pretty transparent on that front. And if you are looking at 2 or 3, you should be able to compare them side by side. Also, how is it going to deliver to your return on investment? We've got another slide in the next couple of clicks, which will go into the ROI in a bit more detail, but is it going to actually deliver on your ROI and address that gap? And also, what's a contract term? Usually with AI tech, they're short-term contracts, monthly, annual at most. And I would recommend not to sign up to anything with longer than a 12-month contract. One, because the technology is relatively new to the market. And also there's a lot of competition out there. If things don't do quite what you're after with AI tools, a lot of them are relatively easy to pull out and then replace with something else. So I would look at the contract term and just make sure that you're aware of that. So that's just some consideration around selecting the tech. And then the question is always, do we do it with a big bang or shall we go with a bit of a pilot? So this is not the same consideration for every piece of technology across your company. You know, if you're looking to roll out an ERP solution, you're looking to do CRM, there are considerations for, you know, a big bang or a pilot, and some have the pros, some have the cons. With AI, because they tend to be point solutions and they fix specific problems, my recommendation is to do a pilot. So rather than rolling out completely across your organization, just look at a pilot rollout. Why? Firstly, it's lower risk. If you just got a selection of your selection of your users on it, or a handful of your functions using it, it's a lot lower risk and less of an impact across your organization if you did have to replace it. You also will get a better adoption if you're just doing it with a small group. You can be a lot more focused, you can be a lot more hands-on. The supplier can likely as well be more involved with the users in question. So you'll get a better adoption. And just like everything else, if it is successful, then the news will go through your organization. And then other users will want to be using the technology. So you'll have excitement around it, and it'll be really good for culture as well to show what you're investing in for the users. It's easier to change if you're doing it on a smaller scale, because there's going to be some growing pains. You may need to change some workflows, change some data, change some of the training model. You can do that a lot easier if you're doing things on a smaller scale. And then you can also identify the value a lot easier if it's just done with a small pilot. It's not to say this pilot has to go on for months on end. It can just be a matter of weeks. And if you're saying, okay, well, we're going to roll out an AI tool, which is going to go out and it's going to scrape candidates' information and then do some shortlisting of CVs. If you do that on a small scale, you're going to be able to identify the value of that pretty quick. And then if there is enough value in it, you can then just do a gradual rollout to other teams and functions and users across your organization. Okay. So it doesn't mean you have to sit on this pilot for months on end. I wouldn't recommend you to do that. It can just be a week or two. You tweak it, you change it, you realize the value early on, you've got the excitement across the existing users, you then just release that out to the wider group as long as it's commercially viable. So I would recommend to do a bit of a pilot rollout first. Okay. And then what are you actually going to be measuring this on? There is that, and I've been working in technology in tech sales for 20 plus years. And I say it all the time that people are very thorough in their selection of the software. They do an awful lot of due diligence and testing in the implementation of it. Then they go live, and quite often they forget why they actually did it in the first place. So again, because a lot of AI tools are easy and quick to implement and don't typically cost an awful lot of money to do so, and they don't cost a fortune to use, you want to be actually seeing whether you're getting a return on investment on them, because if you don't, then you want to replace it with something else. So these are a number of areas where you can measure the return on investment. So is it actually saving people's time? Is it freeing people's time up to be focusing on something else, which is more of a pressing matter? Do you get improved productivity? That's closely linked with the time saved, but are you actually, is your output improving because you're freeing up a lot of the noise and you're getting the technology to do the heavy lifting for you? Is the quality better? So for example, if you're looking to spec CVs out, is the quality of the work that you're producing of a higher quality? If you're looking to shortlist candidates, is the shortlist better than it previously was? Are you presenting much better candidates to clients and therefore getting a higher win rate on that? Are you also looking to, or can you reduce costs with AI tech? There's a lot of legacy software out there which can be costly to run and maintain. AI can come in and replace that at a fraction of the cost. So are you actually reducing costs from other areas of your technology stack? And then ultimately, is it increasing your revenue? Okay, so is it not just saving your time and producing better content, but is it in the bottom line increasing your revenue? Now, it may take several months for you to actually realize that. And can you pinpoint that all the way back to a single piece of technology? Potentially you can, potentially you can't. A lot of it will be anecdotal the beginning, but if you've got you've seen that revenue's increasing, you're securing more bookings, you're finding better quality, you're getting great feedback from your clients in regards to the interaction that you're having with them, you're winning different clients. All of those things just add to a real compelling return on investment for the AI tools that you've rolled out. Okay. Next area are AI concerns, and this is the last area that I wanted to discuss. And I was thinking, oh, we'll do actually close off the series of this AI talk on this note. And I thought, oh well, it's on people's mind. We know that from different surveys that ERF have done on our behalf, and also just from speaking with recruiters on a day-by-day basis. So I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes to try to address these concerns and really give you the confidence that these areas shouldn't be holding you back. Okay, so first off, are you compliant? We've already touched on some of the GDPR stuff from the previous sessions. So, but are you actually compliant? If you're using a free version of ChatGPT, you're not compliant. If you're putting candidate or client data in there, so just pay for ChatGPT Plus, and what it'll do is it'll make sure that the data that you're putting in is not being used in their training model, so therefore you're compliant. You then also got to think, okay, the EU AI Act, which has come into place, but there's considerations around transparency and risk there. Certain industries are seen as a real high risk, finance, credit scoring, for example, and also recruitment, because you are using AI to help you select candidates to push that through to your clients. So that's seen as a real high risk area. You've got to be conscious of that. It's not coming, some of those areas aren't coming into play until 2027. But if you want to have a chat in more detail about the EU AI Act, then I can point you in the right direction for that. And then you got to think, okay, what about bias? Does AI have bias? Yes, it does. It's using trained data, which is out there and freely available in a lot of cases. But, it can happen. All I would say is speak with your supplier, understand what training data they're using, and also do some spot checks as well. Don't just leave it and just have 100% trust in the technology. Do some spot checks and make sure that, say we're doing CV screening, that it's not leaving some people out, which it can do and has done in the past. Next one is job losses. Will it lead to job losses? My feeling in the short term, no, it won't. It'll just free people's time up to be focusing on other value tasks like being face-to-face with candidates and clients. In the longer term, will it? Yes, I think it probably will, because people will really get AI as a fundamental part of their organization. And I'm already speaking with especially the smaller recruitment companies who are relying a lot more on tech than bringing on new bums on seats. And then data. Where's the big concern there? I've already touched on it in the previous slide, but just make sure that your data is clean, it's accurate, and it's also maintained in that way. Don't go through a full exercise to cleanse your database and then forget about it. It needs to be on a regular basis. And yes, there are AI tools which can look at your data, it can get rid of your duplicates, it can make sure it's present and correct, and then it can continually clean it from there on in. So they're just some AI concerns, really, just to say, look, they're always going to be there. Should you address them? Yes, you should, but don't let it necessarily slow you down in your interest and adoption of AI. So these are the areas that we've covered: data, AI, and automation, how they all work hand in hand, the process you should go through to be reviewing where AI can sit in your organization, how to select your tech, how to roll it out, what you should be looking at for the return on investment, and then also addressing those AI concerns. Again, if you want to get in touch for a copy of the deck, or you want to have a 30-minute chat with me and we can have a look at your technology and your processes and your appetite for AI, please do feel free to get in touch with me over email or LinkedIn. I'd be more than happy to help. And I think that's about it. So that's the close of the 4-part series. I hope everyone's found it useful. I'll hand over to you, Anna.
Thank you very much. I mean, there's no questions because you went into so much detail in that. But I mean, the 4 sessions have been really, really good. As I said, this one will be available to watch back later on this afternoon on the website. And if you missed any of the previous ones, go back and watch them. They're already there. Thank you again, Neil. That was fantastic the last 4 weeks. Really do appreciate it. And I'm sure everyone got a load out of it as well.
Wonderful. Thanks, Anna. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.